Malawi continues to experience cases of abuse and murder of older persons, but this is contrary to the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, which protects all human beings regardless of age. The Malawi Network of Elderly Persons Organizations, Manepo, is working tirelessly to address issues affecting older persons. In NBC Exclusive this week, we're joined by Executive Director of Manepo, Andrew Kavala. Andrew Kavala, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
Now, Andrew, just put us into perspective. When we're talking about statistics of older persons globally and, of course, nationally, what are we looking at?
Great, thank you so much. You will notice that there is a great demographic trend when you talk about issues on aging. Globally, we are talking about 962 million older persons, and these are those that are 60 and above. However, projection shows that the population is going to double by 2050. We'll be looking at over 2 billion older men and women globally. Coming back to sub-Saharan Africa, a region best known for its youth population. We are also looking at somewhere around 64 million older men and women, but this population is expected to triple by 2050. We'll be having about 220 million older men and women in sub-Saharan Africa. Now down to Malawi. As I speak to you now, the 2008 Housing and Population Census, older men and women were about 648,000. But this, again, is expected to rise to somewhere around 900,000 by this year. Just remember, this year, the NSO will also be doing another housing and population census. So you'll see that globally, the population of people that are 60 and above is increasing at an alarming rate. And it's high time we don't ignore issues on aging, because the aging issue has come to stay. And by the way, aging is a process. All factors being equal and constant, you and me are moving toward the same age. Sure.
Now, Andrew, perhaps 60, is that the age where someone begins to age? Or because, you know, if you look at someone who's 60 years old, they look relatively young. So what is the age that you consider someone to be aged? Yes,
Malawi as a country, we are using the UN cutoff point for somebody to be called an older person. So the UN cutoff point is 60 years, and as a country we adopted the same. So in our case, if somebody clocks the age of 60, in essence they are considered to be among those who are old.
Now let's talk a bit about Manepo. Why is your focus on older persons?
Great. Manepo is focusing on older persons. We are here to ensure that the issues on aging at the country level are given some special priority. You agree with me that I think for a while, as a country, we haven't done better when it comes to aging issues. We may not necessarily blame the country as such, because even the Millennium Development Goals were also very silent on aging. And thank God, the Sustainable Development Goals, goal number 3, specifically talks about addressing challenges that people have across all age groups. So you see that the SDGs are quite inclusive when it comes to people of different age groups. Now, as a country, there are so many challenges that people that are 60 and above go through. And we are here to engage government and other non-state actors to ensure that our policies, programs begin to mainstream the aging component, so that we are able to provide an enabling environment for people that are 60 and above.
Now, Malawi has experienced a spate of murders and abuses on elderly persons. Why do you think this is the case?
Great, it's quite unfortunate. And as an institution coordinating issues on aging, we are very saddened. Let me give you a bit of statistics. As I speak to you now, since January 2018 to date, we are looking at about 7 older men and women who have been killed. across the country. This is quite worrisome. No one loses their dignity, no one loses their rights as they grow old. However, I think one of the contributing factors why older men and women are being killed in this manner, it is because they have lost status in society. No one looks at them as people that have equal rights with everybody else. And this loss of status is kind of worrisome to us and even to other people, because if nothing is done, then I think these issues will continue to go on. But that aside, there are also some pockets of older persons being abused, being discriminated against by their relations who would like to grab some possessions, some assets a few older people have. You know, we are looking at a group of people who have either some have worked in the formal sector, some have done a lot of businesses, and they have accumulated some assets. So we have some relations, closer community members who are envying what these people have, and eventually they create so many stories just to get rid of them, so that at the end of the day they possess what they have.
Now, when we look at the abuses that are being perpetrated on these individuals, what are they?
Yes, so many forms of abuse that are targeting older people. I think the major one is this one, where we have seen a lot of older people, a lot of older men and women being killed, which is quite worrisome. That aside, a lot of older men and women in different communities are being segregated against. And this is quite worrisome. If there are some development projects coming to the community where everybody else is supposed to participate, older people have been sidelined. People have described them and say, you know, this kind of thinking is quite a drawback to the development of the country. Why do I say so? Because even older men and women have also a responsibility to develop this country. And when you look at the burden of care most of these have, by the way, a study recently done by UNICEF shows about 40% of orphans in Malawi are under the custody of older persons. So when we deny them any access to income security, any access to livelihood, then we are in essence abusing them, because we are denying them a source of living. That aside, in most hospitals, you see that our hospitals are not age-friendly. Older men and women, when they go to hospital, they stay on a queue just like anybody else. This is an old lady, an old man in his or in her 80s. The back is already bending. They're not strong enough, quite frail, to stand on a queue for over 2 hours. So here they go to hospital, you find some youngsters on the queue, people of different ages on the queue, but the people have no respect to tell them, excuse me, would you just pass through and be seen by the doctor? For us, this is a huge form of abuse. We would want all Malawians to join hands and ensure that wherever older men and women are, we're able to provide an enabling environment. Let them enjoy as they grow old.
Now, why is it that they have become an easy target? What do you think is the root cause of this problem?
Yes, I think the root cause of the problem is that their relations and the community structures are kind of failing to protect and promote their rights. You will notice that most of the killings that are taking place are being perpetrated by closer relations. I will give you an example, the recent one in Ngabo. The one that killed two older persons was a grandchild. So somebody who does not have the respect or the kind of dignity we older persons are supposed to have. But as I put it to you, the major problem that is making older men and women a risk to these issues is that their level or their status in society is gone so low. Let me justify what I'm saying. In Zambia, a district called Katete, just a neighboring district with Malawi in Kinji, there were so many issues of older men and women being killed. And the government in Zambia decided to pilot a pension scheme specifically targeting older men and women in that district. And this was done to raise the status of older men and women, to give them back their dignity. 5 years down the line, when an impact study was done, the cases of killings on older persons reduced by 70%. Why did this happen in this way? It's because the little transfers older men and women received raised their status in society. So when their status is raised, everybody else is there to respect them. Let me tell you something. When, say, most of the accusations, you'll be told maybe someone is holding reins or somebody dies unexpectedly and the older persons are made to blame. If there are no reins in Nyambadwe, if there are no rains in area 43 in Lilongwe, where we have older men and women living in there but with status, they've got good houses, they're driving Porsche cars, no one else is going to go there and accuse them that they are the ones responsible for the death or responsible that the rains are not coming as people would expect. Why is it that these issues target older men and women who are so poor, who have no status in society? So basically you would see that on the bottom line, these issues are coming on board and are coming at that pace because older men and women in our country have lost dignity, they have no source of livelihood, and hence they are regarded as non-entities within the societies where they live.
Now, Mr. Kavala, you've been around for some time. Do you think that you're doing your work properly or you're failing your duty to educate the people on rights to do with the elderly? Are you doing enough?
We are doing enough, and we are glad that we are reaching the masses. But however, you know, this issue involves attitude change, perception change. And to change an attitude or to change somebody's perception is not a one-day thing. It is kind of a process. People have to understand why do we talk about making older people living like anybody else. People do not understand the rights that every older person has, just like anybody else. So on the bottom issue, it is something that has to ensure we are able to change the attitude, the perception, which is not a one-day thing. But by and large, we are glad as an institution that we are able to reach out to Malawians. There is a program that I speak to you running in Mulanje where issues of killing, abusing older people are also quite alarming. There's a program that is running in Mulanje for the next 4 years where we are engaging the communities on the rights of older men and women. We have trained what we are calling paralegals, community structures where older people will be able to report if they suspect that somebody intends to do something. And we are also strengthening community structures so much so that, you know, before somebody does this, perhaps they share with one or two people, I'm intending to do this. We would want that people should be watching each other. If somebody harbors such kind of feelings, let someone sneak and report this. So we are really trying as much as we can to work with community structures so that at the end of the day, the rights of older men and women are being promoted and protected.
You're watching MBC Exclusive. Our guest today is Andrew Kavala, Manepo Executive Director. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to MBC Exclusive. Our guest today is Andrew Kavala, Executive Director of Manepo. Now, Mr. Kavala, what do you think needs to be done to ensure that the aged are protected in this country, both by government and, of course, by the societies that they live in?
Yes, a lot needs to be done, say by government law enforcing agencies, the police, the judiciary, and the other agencies entrusted to protect the lives of Malawians. I would want to urge all these agencies to ensure that their presence at the community level should be intensified. I think you agree with me when people see uniformed police around, they are scared to do something else. So we would want, if their presence is intensified at the community level, I know there are so many police units across the country in different localities, we would want, if patrols are also done, let people see them that they are available, and they are available to protect the lives not of just other persons, but of everybody else. For other stakeholders, the chiefs, community structures, community policing, all these structures, we would want them to begin giving a special focus on issues regarding older men and women. I remember when the Neno issue happened, remember 4 people were killed in Neno. We had the chance to speak to the communities. I was told that they had reported to one of the chiefs to say, we are intending to do this. But the chief was too scared to stop them. Said, oh, whatever you do, in as long as I'm not concerned. So you will see that chiefs, as custodians of the law at the community level, should be in the forefront to rebuke anybody that harbors such kind of feelings to target other persons. So if we join hands, you see that maybe the population is quite high, or the ratio between one police officer and the population is quite high. If we just let the police alone to do their work, perhaps we need to come in at the community level to ensure that these people are well protected, and also their rights are being promoted as anybody else. Now, I would like also to call upon all the CSOs working on human rights to ensure that their programming begins to mainstream specifically on the rights of other persons, so that when we speak, when the other human rights institutions speak, government is ensuring that the police are available, they are physically present at the community level. The community structures are also there to protect their relations, other men and women. I think we will be able to provide a conducive environment for other men and women.
But as it stands now, do you think that government is doing enough to protect older persons in this country?
No, at the moment, I think 7 people killed in a space of 5 weeks. I would think government is not doing enough. And I would want to urge government, more especially the Malawi Police Service, to intensify patrols, to conduct a lot of community awareness meetings on the rights of different people, so that at the end of the day, their presence at the community level is going to send some message to people who intend to do that. Let me hasten to mention that it's not only for government, as I've put it already. Government might not be doing enough, but even the chiefs, the communities are also not doing enough. So it is everybody's responsibility to protect the life of older men and women.
Now, where are we regarding the feasibility study that was conducted towards old age pension? Where are we with that?
Indeed, with government, the Ministry of Gender, Children, Disability and Social Welfare, in 2016, we conducted a feasibility study towards old age pension in Malawi. We and government, I'm saying we and government because the study was essentially done by government. We supported with resources, technical and financial resources, but we noted that perhaps there is need for appropriate ways on which we should address the challenges older men and women are going through in the country. So the study was done, and I'm glad to share to the nation that the findings of the study show that it is possible for a country like Malawi to roll out a universal pension scheme. Perhaps the issue of resources should be understood in the sense that we are looking at older men and women at different age cohorts. people that are 60 and above, 70 and above, 80 and above. Perhaps those within the ages of 60, 70 are still a bit strong to manage a few things which make them have a living. But we are looking at those perhaps 80, 90, even 100 who are completely incapacitated, are not able to do anything. But besides that, they also have a burden of care. They have to look after orphans. So maybe we would be looking at the progressive realization of rights. We begin with what we are able to afford now, and with time we begin to lower down the age cohorts to ensure that all older men and women are able to have some transfers every month. But the study was done successfully. Let me mention that the feasibility study for the old age pension was launched, and we are quite excited because now Malawians are aware that the study was launched, and we will be now intensifying engagements with government, donors, and other key partners on where do we start from.
Mm-hmm. Now, Mr. Kavala, I would want to find out, have you not done any study to establish why communities in this country, I don't know about other parts of Africa, why do communities connect old people to witchcraft and misfortune?
As Manepo, we have done this study, but there are also various studies that have been done across the region, in Zambia, in Tanzania, even in Zimbabwe, on why do people connect witchcraft to older men and women. Why are they not connecting this to the people of the other age groups? It's kind of what I've said already. These issues bordering on beliefs, issues bordering on some religious convictions, that when people are growing old, therefore they are associated with the misfortunes. We did a recent study in Mulanje, and you would be overwhelmed to note that most of the people of the other age groups who were interviewed, they kept saying we are born to believe that anything that happens bad in society, it is caused by older people. So these are kind of beliefs that people are born with, but you will see that essentially they have no basis. To grow old is not in any way connected with any misfortune that take place. So as I was putting it, I think the issue now is to change the people's perception, people's attitude that anybody who is in their 60s is like anybody else. Assuming I get to the age of 60 and I'm associated with witchcraft, where does it come from? I don't even know anything. So you see that these issues border on beliefs and perceptions. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
Now, Mr. Kavala, you've been appointed to various boards. We're talking about in the SADC region and, of course, in the Commonwealth. What are the issues that you'll be taking to these forums that you think will help to promote issues of the elderly in Malawi and, of course, in the region?
Great. We'll be focusing on the key issues that, as an institution, we are working on, issues of health and care. To what extent do governments begin to ensure issues of older people are being taken seriously when it comes to their health and care status? I will tell you something. As a country, we don't have geriatric doctors. That tells you we are not doing a lot. Why do we have pediatric doctors for kids, gynecologists, or this doctor for eyes, or for, we have different specialists to look after specific issues one goes through when it comes to their healthy life, but they are not geriatric doctors. So these are the issues we'll be bringing to the global perspective, the global forum, on how do they support us to ensure we begin to have or to train our own geriatric doctors as a country. Issues of income security. Apart from talking about pensions for older men and women, what other livelihood support do older men and women in Malawi need? And how could other governments, international organizations support so that we are able to provide appropriate income security for older men and women? And finally, issues of abuse and discrimination. How would other governments, international bodies support to ensure that this issue of human rights, every Malawian begins to know when people grow old, they are like anybody else and their rights have to be respected, promoted, just like anybody else. So there are various issues that are going to ensure the different governments, international organizations are able to support us.
Do you think there's political will in Malawi to promote the welfare of the elderly
Yes, there is political will. Let me say something. His Excellency the President, recently when he was, I think, having one of the functions in Blantyre, he sent a very strong warning to anybody in Malawi who tries to abuse the rights of other persons. I would like to thank His Excellency for joining us hands. And we are quite happy that the message comes to the highest office of the land in the country. We would want that all the citizens of this country take what His Excellency said very seriously, because if indeed somebody tries to abuse older men and women, who also facilitates to ensure they go and rot in prison.
Finally, what is your dream for the elderly in this country?
I'm looking forward to a Malawian society where older men and women across the country are able to say 4 things. I have the income I need. I enjoy the best health services I need. My voice is heard. And finally, no one else is abusing my rights.
Mr. Andrew Kavala, it was very nice having you in the program.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's all we had time for in this edition of MBC Exclusive. Our guest today was Andrew Kavala, Executive Director of the Malawi Network of Elderly Persons Organizations, Manepo. Until next time, I'm Kumbukani Mwalwanda. Thanks for watching.